Today, we're going to hear how one person could make a difference in her entire country. Her name was Wangari Mathai, and she was a protector of the environment. She was a university professor. She served in the highest levels of her country's government, and she won a Nobel Peace Prize. So let's hear her story now. A Tiny Seed, The Story of Wangari Mathai, by Nicola Ridgick and Maya Marstak, used with permission. In a village on the slopes of Mount Kenya in East Africa, a little girl worked in the fields with her mother. Her name was Wangari. Wangari loved being outside. In her family's food garden, she broke up the soil with her machete. She pressed tiny seeds into the warm earth. Wangari's mother and grandmother taught her that her ancestors rested in the shade of the trees. Her favorite time of day was just after sunset. When it got too dark to see the plants, Wangari knew it was time to go home. She would follow the narrow paths through the fields, crossing rivers full of life as she went. Wangari was a clever child and couldn't wait to go to school, but her mother and father wanted her to stay and help at home. When she was 7 years old, her big brother persuaded her parents to let her go to school. And she liked to learn. Wangari learned more with every book she read. She did so well at school that she was invited to study in the United States of America. And Wangari was excited to go. She wanted to learn more about the world. At the American University, Wangari learned many new things and many new ways of being. She studied plants and how they grow. She received a degree in biology. And she remembered the whole time the country where she grew up. She remembered playing games with her brothers in the shade of the trees in the beautiful Kenyan forests. The more she learned, the more she realized that she loved the people of Kenya. She wanted them to be happy and free. She wanted the women to have the same freedoms she had in the United States. The more she learned, the more she remembered her African home. When she had finished her studies, she returned to Kenya. But her country had changed. Huge farms stretched across the land. The government sold much of the land to big companies, and those companies cut down the forests for timber and cleared the land for coffee plantations. The trees were gone, the soil was gone, the streams had dried up. The land was destroyed, and there was no wood to make cooking fires, and the people were poor, and the children were going hungry. Wangari knew just what to do. She taught the women to plant trees from seeds. The women sold trees and used the money to look after their families. The women were very happy. Wangari helped them to become more powerful in their society and provide for their families. Some businesses got angry that the trees became more important than their business. They paid a police officer to put Wangari in jail. Wangari made friends with other women in the jail, and when they were released, they helped her plant more trees. Wangari realized that she needed more support, and she began to travel the world to spread her message. More people listened to her. She is elected to Kenya's parliament as Minister of the Environment and continued to plant trees. As time passed, the new trees grew into forests and the rivers started flowing again. Wangari's message spread across Africa. She started what is still known as the Green Belt movement, named after the green strips of tree seedlings which began growing across the brown clear-cut fields in Kenya. And today, millions of trees have grown from Wangari's seeds. Some say 40 million at the minimum. Wangari had worked hard. People all over the world took notice and gave her a very famous prize in 2004. It's called the Nobel Peace Prize, and she was the first African woman ever to receive it. Wangari understood patience, persistence, and commitment to the tiny seed of an idea which would grow into a movement which not only changed the landscape of Kenya, but the status of women in her country and improve everyone's lives. In her acceptance speech for the Nobel Peace Prize, Wangari stated, "I always felt that our work was not simply about planting trees. It was about inspiring people to take charge of their environment, the system that governed them, their lives, and their future.